Call to order the December 2019 legislative meeting of Media Borough Council. Please stand and join in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to all who joined us on this cold day, although it is the holiday season, so I hope we are all warm in our hearts. We have a couple of items that we need to get through, housekeeping items we need to get through before we get into the meat of the order tonight. We have two sets of meeting minutes. Provide our motion to approve the November 2019 workshop meeting minutes as submitted.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the workshop meeting minutes of November 7, 2019 as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Item number 2 in housekeeping side of the ledger is our council meeting minutes from this past month. Do I have a motion to approve those as submitted?
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion? There is no call for discussion. All those in favor of approving the council meeting minutes from November 21, 2019 as submitted, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. All right, now we have the opportunity for public comment and privilege of the floor. If there's anybody who wishes to address council, please come to the microphone and tell us your name, your address, and what's on your mind.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Zubair Khan, and I'm Executive Director for the Media Business Party. And I'm here to announce our last event for 2019, and that's a New Year's Eve community ball drop, which is going to be on Tuesday, December 31st. And it's going to be in downtown Media, in front of Spazzo's restaurant. And we usually close the street from Olive Street to the west side of Church Street. So we're going to continue to do that. But I was asked by our liaison, Lisa Johnson, to check with Media Police, because last year we had some signs put up on the meters, because the chief didn't want the cars to be left there, because people, get out of control sometimes when they're celebrating. So we decided to not to close the street or meter parking during the rush hour of our dinner crowd that comes into town for restaurants. So we decided to close the street at 10:30. So we're going to post that timing on the meters, and the police is going to help us monitor that. So we are requesting to the residents and everybody that is watching this to please, I know you will be having dinners and you will be in town, to remove your cars at 10:30 so we don't have to find you. That was one of the requests that we have. And we also are going to have an ample trash receptacles on the street, so we ask people to be a little bit more careful and not to throw glass objects on the street and break them. And I know it's a time for celebration, but we also have to watch the safety of others and also the cars that might be left there. And I just wanted to wish everybody Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you. With that in mind, I think it's useful to point out that on New Year's Eve, the Olive Street garage will be open, and there will be it's free for all who use it. So rather than park on the street, if you can, please park in the garage.
Right. I mean, I think it's a perception problem, but we do have plenty of parking, and we know that because of the different events that have been held. So please find parking, come early, stay late, and have fun.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zubair. All right. Does anybody else wish to address council at this time?
Hello, everybody. It's so good to
drill.
see you. It's
Do
to
I?
see you.
But I don't know which address I should give. Well,
430 North Monroe, perhaps?
maybe, that could be it. So my name's Monica Robert, this is my husband Z, and we are the new proud owners of Media Borough's first bed and breakfast in town.
You're here.
Located at 430 North Monroe. Sorry, I almost gave my home address. Don't know where I live anymore because we've been literally living at Monroe Street, getting it all squared away, getting all the permits and the interior redone and everything. And so this evening we've handed out brochures that are hot off the press today, and an invitation to all council members to come and stop by. We're going to have a little soiree on that the Saturday and Sunday following Christmas, because we'd love to have you all come out and check out what we've done. It might be a little nice, I'm not really sure. You'll have to be the judge of that. We are officially open. We're just waiting for that little piece of paper to hang on the wall. But we are assured of that happening very soon. And we're very proud and pleased to be able to do this for Media Borough. We think it's going to be a great draw for everyone. If you know the property, you know that it is already nationally registered historic property. Only one of two in Media Borough. The other one is the Armory, where Trader Joe's is. So you're already nationally recognized as being part of that family of good, detailed history. We're just trying to bring that out more into the forefront for Media Borough by turning this property, which was kind of sad and tired, into giving it a new life as a bed and breakfast. And our first guest is coming on Monday.
Fantastic.
Oh. So we're hopeful that this is going to be a great start for 2020. Maybe we could get a little rest after doing this. But we want to thank you all again for having a little bit of faith in us and giving us the opportunity to do this. And just think it's going to be great for media and for us too, hopefully.
Congrats.
I second the motion.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I hope you guys can come and just stop by. It's an open invitation, Saturday and Sunday 1 to 5, as the invitation states. But just stop by, check us out.
Thank you very much
Best
for
of
the
luck.
invitation.
All right.
I have to say that our faith is based on the history of the two of your accomplishments over the decades that you've been in media. I mean, it wasn't that much of a leap to know that you could achieve this if that's what you wanted to do.
Thank you. Uh-oh, I guess he's seen our other properties around here. Seen him up on the
Thank
line
you.
in the sky. So thank you, and happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you
Happy
very
holidays.
much. Does anyone else wish to address council at this time? Hearing no other takers, we will proceed to the engineer's report. After this one, I hope clarification. Again, we're facing a holiday that falls in the middle of the week. And so,
Let me do it now.
if you could do the trash pickup.
Sure, I was going to do it before, but I'll do it now.
Yeah, I think that now while we're at the top of the meeting.
For those who are actually watching on television and in the audience, Borough Council decided this year to start to do a little bit more of making sure a work-home life balance. So we are closing our offices and for all staff and Borough Highway Department on the 24th of December, Christmas Eve, as well as on New Year's Eve, the 31st. So if you have trash pickup, which you would on a Tuesday, that would be the western part of the town, you will not have trash pickup on that Tuesday, but you will on that Friday, as well as anybody that would have trash pickup on the 31st of December would not be having trash pickup. So other than that, things remain. With regards to the recycler, I believe that they do come on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, but they will not be working on Christmas Day or New Year's Day. So that's half my report.
All right, well, thank you very much. I know that's...
Yes, it is important. Might as well get it over with in the beginning.
Yes. All right, so let's move along to the engineer's report. Mr. Parker is here, and Mr. Parker, you have some things to say for us this evening.
Yes, good evening. Just a couple of quick items. First of all, we are currently working with the borough to prepare and submit a community development block grant application in early 2020, in the next couple of months. that is for extending the streetscape design near Glen Providence Park. So that's first item. And the second item is that, and it's on the agenda later tonight as well, we reviewed the bids for the traffic signal improvements project, and the low bid was chosen, and we recommended that award, which I believe is on the agenda for tonight, to award that project.
All right, thank you, Mr. Parker. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Parker at this time? All right, perhaps we'll have opportunity to ask some questions later on this evening. We have Mr. John Lichtenstein who's here today, who is sitting in for Bob Scott. This is that time of year when things come fast and furious in the municipal world, and sometimes folks can't be in two places at one time. So Mr. Lichtenstein is here tonight, and you get to say some magic words at this moment if you choose to say them. Do you have?
Okay. No, nothing to report at this time.
Well done.
As well as things come up this evening, we might have some questions or might ask for Mr. Lichtenstein's advice, which is why he is here, even though he does not have anything to report at this moment. Okay, we'll move along to the mayor's report. Well, I'm sorry, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Lichtenstein at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to the mayor. Sorry, Mr. Lichtenstein.
Thank you, Robert. First, the police report. Please find the complaints. We had, the department handled a total of 689 complaints during the month of November. We've had a lot of news, thanks to Susan, on the Jason House and the new building we're going to have. Just an update on that. We're breaking ground in the second week in January, and we expect it to be finished in May, in time for some celebrations in June. Having said that, we've also developed relationships, and this is a proclamation concerning a sister cities where the a city in Korea and Media Borough will become sister cities. And here's what it says. On friendship between the cities of Busan, Korea, and Media Borough, PA, USA, whereas the Sister City program administered by Sister Cities International was initiated by the President of the United States of America in 1956, Eisenhower, to encourage greater friendship and goodwill. And whereas Busan, Korea, and Media Borough, PA, USA, agreed to collaborate for mutual benefit for their communities by exploring educational, economic, and cultural opportunities. And whereas we agreed to support and encourage opportunities for mutually beneficial practical exchanges in the fields of medicine, education, economic development, educational exchange programs for youth, internet communication, technology, arts, culture, and tourism. Well, we have a lot to do, don't we? And whereas both cities are united in their will to develop ties between the people of Busan, Korea, and Media Borough in the interest of peace and in the spirit of peaceful cooperation and mutual understanding. And whereas Busan, Korea, Media Borough, PA, do hereby proclaim themselves sister cities and declare their intent to abide by these guidelines indefinitely according to the Sister Cities International policies, therefore let it be resolved by the Borough Council and the Borough of Media, Delaware County, Pennsylvania, that Busan, Korea, and Media Borough are sister cities. Proclamation, December 19th. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does anyone have any questions for the mayor at this time?
I do. What drew that particular city to us? What is the connection to media with Busan and us?
There's no, I know some individuals way back when were from there. That is not where Dr. Jason is from. Their population, I believe, is 40,000. Ours is somewhat less, but we are a county seat at 550,000.
Where is it in South Korea?
I know from Seoul it is closer to the coast, I'm told. I didn't look at the map, but that was in the conversation I had with George Shea, who's running this. So
I believe it's in the south part of, or the southern part of South Korea.
okay.
All right, any other questions or comments for the mayor? Hearing none, we'll move along to the council committee reports. We'll begin with Councilman Robinson, Properties, Public Works, and Fire.
Okay, I already referenced number 2 about our holiday schedule. I only have one item on my agenda this evening, and that is a successor lease agreement between the Media Fire and Hook and Ladder Company #1 and the Borough of Media. The last time this lease was discussed was 50 years ago, March of 1967. It was a 50-year lease. The lease agreement in which we are voting on this evening has everything in the lease of 1967, other than we've decided to shorten it up a little bit this time and go with a 10-year lease versus a 50-year lease. For those residents who may not be aware, the Borough Media actually owns the fire house itself and the property, and the fire company is responsible for certain parts of the building and certain aspects of the building, and the Borough Media is responsible for other areas of the building. It's an 11-page lease. I'm not going to bore you. I think it's been a good lease for the last 50 years, so I'm sure it'll be a fine lease for the next 10. So I would just like to make a motion that we enter into the successor lease agreement between the Borough of Media and the Media Fire Hook and Ladder Company that was reviewed and prepared by our solicitor.
Second.
Motion's been made and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion concerning the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the Borough of Media entering into a successor lease agreement with the Media Fire Hook and Ladder Company #1, as outlined by Councilman Robinson, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Other than wishing everyone a healthy and safe holiday season, the last thing I'm going to say is I'm going to ask everyone to remember to stop at stop signs. We, the people of the borough, have a tendency to go through them as much or more than the people visiting the town. And I would not be my normal meeting if I did not ask everyone to think of the fire company this time of year, to come out and volunteer, work with on the administrative side of the fire company. For those that were around on Black Friday, they hosted a fantastic night for the children. Santa actually came down, was hanging out by the yellow fire truck. I think all the kids and the older kids, parents, had a really, really good time, and I'm really happy to see that it's been a very successful evening for them. There's even discussion about bringing it out onto Jackson Street in 2020. So wish everyone a happy holidays, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Councilman Robinson at this time? Hearing none, we will move along to Councilman Lisa Johnson, MBA, Historic Public Safety and Civil Service.
Thank you. The first item on my agenda is about housekeeping on the traffic and parking ordinances. And I'd like to make a motion to authorize the solicitor to draft the annual traffic, parking, and ordinance amendments.
Second.
Motion has been made and has been seconded. Is there any discussion concerning the motion? Hearing none, I'll just offer the general comment that every year around this time, we accomplish this housekeeping matter. It's a way of memorializing on our books those changes we've made to our code throughout the year. Rather than doing it every other month or so, we just do it all in one motion at the end of the year. All right, so all those in favor of authorizing the solicitor to draft annual traffic parking ordinance amendments, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The second item on my agenda is to award the bid to the appropriate company that for emergency backup generators. And Andy, can you tell me who that is?
It's Charles Higgins and Sons.
Okay, thank you. So I make a motion to award the bid to Charles Higgins and Sons for emergency backup generators at signalized traffic intersections.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Andy, if you wouldn't mind, what is the amount? If you have it.
Is their bid came in at $137,302.
Okay, thank you very much.
$137,302.
Within budget.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Park. All right, I'll call the question, unless there's any call for discussion.
Just for clarification for the residents, I mean, what this will do is we have battery backups on our signals now. So when we do lose electricity, historically, we were out there putting up temporary stop signs and things of that nature. So our traffic signals will be We'll have battery backup that will work for 5 hours. Then with the additional generators, we can go around and charge up the batteries and/or determine the most important intersections to signalize during a time if it goes more than 5 or 6 hours. So this is something that's going to be significantly provide significant safety to the borough and make life a lot easier when we do have power outages.
Thank you. All right, unless there's other comment or call for question. Hearing none, all those in favor of awarding the bid for emergency backup generators at signalized traffic intersections to Charles Higgins and Sons for the amount of $137,302, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, please say nay. Councilman Williamson, is your vote in favor or?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Aye.
All right. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. The last item on my agenda is a resolution to appoint Michael Straw. And he asked me to read a little note that he sent because he had a conflict tonight, so he couldn't attend. So he says here, thank you for your consideration for a community representative position for the NBA. I'm excited to work to grow our Media Pride event and help our businesses in our small town continue to grow and prosper. So I'm making a motion to approve resolution 2019-31, which is the appointment of Michael Straw to an unexpired term on the Media Business Authority Board, term expiring 12/31/21.
Second?
Motion's been made, it has been seconded. Is there any discussion or question concerning the motion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the question. Adopting resolution 2019-31, which will appoint Michael Straw to the unexpired term on the Media Business Authority. That term will expire at the end of 2021. Please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. That's all I have for tonight.
All right, excellent. Are there any questions for Councilwoman Lisa Johnson at this time?
Brian, just ask a quick question with regards to Zubair's comment earlier. Do we have to amend the mass gathering permit, or did we leave it kind of open when we discussed it before, when it was adopted before? With regards to the 10:30,
I don't recall what the
should we just,
We left it open.
at any time, whatever the police said?
Right.
Okay, then we don't have to call.
That's why I asked him.
Yeah, that's
All right, any other questions concerning this portion of the report? Hearing none, we'll move along then to Councilwoman and Vice President Amy Johnson, Fair Trade Farmers Market, Shade Tree, and the Environmental Advisory Council.
Nothing legislative this evening, but just to mention that the Media Farmers Market last Sunday had a successful holiday market. Lots of people came out to shop for the holidays, and the market will continue through the winter months on the first and third Sunday from 10 to 12. The market is on Edgemont Street between Front and State Street. So the next market will be on Sunday, January 5th. And then again on the third Sunday. So January, February, March, and April, first and third Sundays, the market is rain, snow, or shine. If for a certain reason we had an emergency or a large storm, you can check Facebook for the closing of the market. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Vice President Amy Johnson? Hearing none, we'll move on to my portion of the agenda. My report is for Community Development, Historical Architecture Review Board, and the Media Arts Council. I have 2 items for legislative action. The first one is to authorize our solicitor to draft an ordinance that would establish a temporary moratorium on the establishment of new chicken coops in the borough. This will not have an effect upon existing coops that are currently in use. We're contemplating a 6-month moratorium. This will allow us some additional time to work through on the committee level as well as on the council level changes to our ordinance with regard to chicken keeping in the borough. As I said before, it is temporary. It gives us that additional time. And I think that's it for now. So I make the motion that we authorize the solicitor to draft such an ordinance.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I have a question. Do people that want to put chicken coops in their yard have to come to the borough for any particular reason?
At present time, no.
So how will we know, or how will we know that they're not allowed to do that?
It will be in our newsletter.
Be like any other new ordinance.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of authorizing the solicitor to draft an ordinance establishing a temporary moratorium on new chicken coops in our borough, please say aye.
Yes.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
I stress, if I haven't stressed it enough already, that this does not affect chicken coops that currently are in the borough, currently are up and running in the borough. This is just temporarily. It gives us the opportunity to make sure that whatever changes we make will be effective for chicken keeping this year. I anticipate that we will have something for Borough Council, if not February, then March. We'll be looking at the substantive changes to our ordinance. Item number 2 is a resolution. This is with regard to community development block grant applications, otherwise known as CDBG. We have an opportunity twice each year to apply for money that is made available by the federal government that is administered by the county. And typically what we do is we make application for a couple of discrete projects. And this December we have a couple of discrete projects for which we're going to be applying for grant money. The two are in this order: streetscape enhancements along West State Street near Glen Providence Park. So the streetscape features that you see on State Street, we're looking to extend them down towards Glen Providence Park, and this is an opportunity to do that with money partially from the federal government. So that's the first project. The second project is consulting services for the development of a form-based zoning ordinance. We've been talking about that for some time. We'd like to get that project underway. It would be helpful if we had some money from sources other than our own pockets. So I move that we adopt Resolution 2019-32, applying for community development block grant money for those two projects in that order.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, all-
Just one thing. On the second one, we should pay attention to the county's open space grant program for the form-based zoning, because, I mean, presumably that has some conservation benefits to it, doesn't it? And I think it's something that the county sees as innovative and would support. So let's make sure we pay attention to whatever the next grant round is, try for that, should we not get it this time through CDBG.
Good point.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of adopting Resolution 2019-32 for a community development block grant application to go towards streetscape enhancements on State Street towards Glen Providence Park, as well as consulting for form-based zoning ordinance, please say aye.
Yes.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
That completes my agenda for the evening.
Any other questions for President Hall?
Good, we'll move along then to Councilman Boyer, Recreation Board of Health.
Thank you. Just a few brief items this evening. REC held their maybe 5th annual Winter Wonderland on December 7th. That was a few Saturdays ago. It was well attended and one of the newer events that REC has been doing, and it seems to be very successful. So good job, well done, again for REC. As far as the tot lot, we've decided to do the dedication of the tot lot and maybe what we call the grand opening in the spring, and correlate that with the Easter event, the lunch with the Easter Bunny. So that will be in April, so I'll announce a specific date and time coming up. And then finally, the next event for REC would be the family dance. They haven't set a date yet, but generally that is toward the end of February, and that is a dance held early in the evening so that it can accommodate families with small children. And there's food provided and usually silly jazz entertainment, so stay tuned. And by our next legislature, we should have a date to announce for that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Councilman Boyer at this time? Hearing none, we'll move along to what I consider to be the main events this evening. Councilman Williamson and Councilwoman Dixon, who have quite a bit on their plates this evening. So let's begin with Councilman Williamson.
Well, I'll try to do this with dispatch, so Councilwoman Dixon has as much time as she needs. Okay, so we'll start with our usual ratification and payment of bills from November. From the general fund, we drew $229,777.22. From the recreation fund, $6,624.50. From liquid fuels, $111,797, period. And from the capital fund, $144,539. I move approval of November's bills.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded twice. All right, any question on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the payment of the borough's bills from the general recreation, liquid fuels, and capital funds in the amounts as specified by Councilman Williamson, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The next item is I'm very pleased to authorize the advertisement of bids for the enhancements at the 5th and Broomall Park. Those of you that follow Borough Council affairs know that we acquired that park about a year and a half ago with help from the state of Pennsylvania. And we received a grant from the state of Pennsylvania to help develop it. And we now have the construction drawings necessary to proceed based on a concept plan prepared by the neighborhood themselves. It was quite a lovely process that they went through. So essentially, I'd like Borough Council to authorize us to go out to bid for this project.
Second.
Is there, there's a motion, it has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, then I'll call the question. All those in favor of authorizing the advertising of bids for enhancements at the 5th and Broomall Park, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. And Councilman Williamson, if members, if residents, anyone of interest, anyone has interest, if they wish to see what the plans look like, I understand that they can go on the borough website and they will find them there.
I think so. Certainly the concept plan, which is the most understandable, because it's like sort of a perspective view and a color drawing of the plan. The construction drawings, should we post them, would be probably just confusing because they're so detailed. So I would, if they're on the website now, and they haven't changed much, the construction drawings are simply an expression of what the concept plan called for.
Or I think that they are on the website, Karen, do you know?
Karen T would have posted that, so I'm not sure. I'm looking right now.
Well, a good place to look if you're interested is on the borough website. If they're anywhere,
And if they're not there now, let's see if we can't get them there. It's a PDF and a couple of PDFs. It should be relatively easy. Okay, did we pass that one?
We did.
Okay, good. Every year we do audits to make sure that we are financially responsible. Not that we aren't, but this proves it to the world. And we actually have a very good company that's been working with us for a number of years now. We very much like them, and they understand us now. We like their current year's proposal, and I'd like to move approval for Barbicane Thornton & Company for the 2019 audit.
Second.
Motion's been made, it has been seconded. Is there any discussion concerning the motion? Hearing no call for discussion. All those in favor of approving the audit engagement letter from Barbicane Thornton & Company for the borough's 2019 audit, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay. The next thing, item number 4, is actually rather significant. It's the adoption of the revised 2020 minimal municipal obligation for police and non-uniformed employees pension plans. We passed a resolution earlier, but it was based on old actuarial data. We have a new analysis now, and it revised it. So for the non-uniformed pension, the amount of the MMO is $74,051. But the reason I mention it's significant is the minimal municipal obligation. In other words, what we have to pay each year into the pension to make sure that everyone in it is covered is for our police is $1,105,859. So it's a significant expense. It's about 10% of this year's budget. I'm not regretful, but I just want the citizens of Media to understand that the price of public safety is significant, and we're committed to paying it. But in fact, the Finance Committee last year changed the percentage distribution assumption of the MMO because we thought it was too ambitious. So we dropped it so it would be more close to what other financial managers assume that an endowment will produce, a pension will produce. That caused us to pay more money into it, but we're happy to do it because it would make sure that these pensions will be solvent for the long term. That was lengthy comments, sorry. I move approval of those revised MMO numbers.
Is there a second to the motion? There is. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the revised 2020 MMO, or minimum municipal obligation for the police and the non-uniform employees' pension plans, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Jim Seaman, our very able financial manager and assistant. Jim, I'm sorry, I can't read your new title. It's too darn long in my eyes. But anyway, he's responsible for everything good in the borough that occurs, among other things. But nevertheless, one of the things we're doing recently, thanks to Jim, is moving many of our internal software systems up to more current software. And one of the things we're going to be able to do with that is move our payroll in-house. But because of that, because we're doing that, we need to sign an agreement with Bryn Mawr Trust called an ACH payroll agreement. ACH stands for Jim, please. Thank you, Paul. So it's essentially a bit of housekeeping so that we can do this payroll in-house. So I move approval of the same. Jim, did I miss anything substantial there?
No, it's pretty standard document, so it's required by anybody that has direct deposit. You're moving from one organization to another.
Okay, I made a motion.
Motion's been made. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
There is. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of entering into an ACH payroll agreement with Bryn Mawr Trust, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Next housekeeping item is setting the 2020 millage rate. We used to have to do this by ordinance, I believe, but now, due to the miracle of the government efficiency, we can now do it by resolution. I think we save what? We don't have to advertise it now, I think is the difference, so we save some money. But the good news for all of your taxpayers in the Media Borough is the Media Borough millage rate stays the same. It's been 3.0 mils for, I think, 14 years now, and it's going to stay that way for 2020. So I move approval of resolution 2019-33, setting the millage rate at 3 mils.
Second.
Motion has been made. It's been seconded twice. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no call for discussion. All those in favor of approving resolution 2019-33, which will set the 2020 millage rate for borough taxes at 3.0 mils, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, everyone. The main item for my presentation tonight is the 2020 budget. It's really a continuation of trends of the past. There's some wrinkles in it that I'll mention. For instance, the total of the general fund this year is over $10 million, which seems to be a big jump from last year. And it is a big jump percentage-wise, but there's an anomaly in this year's budget, in that for the past 10 years, we have been saving about $60,000 a year to acquire very expensive, I'm sorry, not for us to acquire, but to assist the fire department in acquiring a very expensive piece of equipment. The thing that enables them to fire high-pressure water very high up into a building. Their colloquial term for it is a squirt, but I don't know what the technical term is. But it's a very expensive piece of equipment, so we're going to put into our general fund $600,000, which we're taking out of savings, and simply passing it to them as a contribution toward this piece of equipment. So it sort of skews what seems to be the bottom line in the general fund. So other than that, the increases in the general fund are largely contractual related to staff. We have many union employees which have contracts, and we pay their staff increases based on those contracts. This year it happens to be 3.5% for the union and non-union, uniformed and non-uniformed employees. And so that's one of the biggest changes in the general fund. It's pretty simple, really. And then, in the capital fund, which is those things that we spend money on that last a long time, like playground equipment or land for parks or park development and so forth, we have a particularly large capital fund budget this year of over $6 million. Much of that is covered by grant funding, but not all of it is. For about 12 years now, the borough has been diligently saving money. We've done a good job of saving money. We essentially have over $5 million in reserves now, which is, essentially 50% of an annual budget. It's a very good number. But we've also built up a backlog of very good capital projects that are built off of a comprehensive planning that we've done. For instance, we've done a stormwater master plan. We've done an economic development master plan. We've done a signage plan called a wayfaring plan. We've done a number of plans that all call for physical improvements in the borough. Those things take a little while to develop and get bid out and so forth, but many of those things are going to hit the ground this year. So we have an unusually high amount of capital expenses this year. Those are the main things in the budget, really the main changes. Other than that, it's really, as I said, a continuation of trends. But let me tell you what some of those trends are. 50% of our budget comes from a collection of taxes called Act 511 taxes. The biggest line item in those taxes are income tax. Both residents of Media pay the income tax, and people that live outside the borough and work here and don't pay it at home, pay it. So over the years, though, those percentages have shifted somewhat. I think about 60% of the revenues come from borough residents and about 40% come from outside. But nevertheless, it's a very good way for us to harvest essentially money from the impact all those people have on our community when they come to work here. So it's a fair trade. So about 50% of our money comes from those taxes. About 40% of our expenses go toward public safety. Yeah, 43% of our expenses go to the police. We believe it's worth it, but it's quite expensive. And you all know that we hired police officers last year. And so it's going to be more expensive over time, but we believe it's worth it because there's nothing more important to a community than having a safe community. It's the basis upon which property values are based and everything else. So we have committed to investing in it. Something you should all know. We recognize that our parking fees are low. And we've also invested in kiosks that make adjusting the fees relatively easy to do. So I think you all, borough residents who pay attention, will see over time a slow and reasonable increase in those parking fees. That's one of the ways in which we can increase revenues without increasing real estate taxes on every citizen. I think that increasing the parking fees to relate to the impact that parkers have in our community makes a lot of sense. So we'll be doing that in a measured way over the next couple of years, and about $150,000 in new income is related to those increases that we anticipate in 2020. Sorry to be slow. I thought I was going to have a PowerPoint presentation. Not that it's anybody's fault, but usually it's easier to talk from slides. So I'm talking I'm doing it old school. I want to tell you about some of the capital expenses that we're going to, some of the projects we're going to do this year, because I think they're pretty exciting. For a number of years now, we've had on the books our desire to build a police sally port, an internal place where police cars can go to discharge prisoners safely into the interior. We don't have that now. We're going to add that to the Borough complex. That's about $250,000. We're also going to do a lot of it's not really deferred, but the Borough complex has been around for a little while. It needs some updating. We're going to put $150,000 into a variety of updating projects around Borough Hall. The bid package we just approved to go out for the 5th and Broomall Park, that has about a $400,000 budget. More than half of that is covered by a state grant. And we also have to do some maintenance on Trader Joe's. We own it and we're responsible for the maintenance, so we're going to put $100,000 into that this year. The police are going to invest in body cameras. They've been waiting for sort of the software to settle itself out, the technology to settle itself out, sort of policies and so forth, but they're ready to do it. So that's about a $70,000 investment. And every year they get a new car so their fleet stays up to date, so they'll be buying a new car. The firehouse, which we're responsible for maintaining, needs a new roof, so we're going to invest in that. That's about $86,000. A neat thing for Borough Hall is that we have files and files and files of building plan approvals, blueprints, things like that we need to find a way to better manage. And we're going to hire a document management house, essentially, to turn these into electronic files so they'll live in the cloud and won't live in our basement anymore. And so that's an investment of some $45,000. As usual, we're going to do paving. We're going to do a little bit more than usual. We have more liquid fuels funds than usual, so we're going to use them on our paving program. A number of improvements for stormwater based on our stormwater management master plan are going to go into place. That's almost $800,000 worth of improvements. And we're going to spend more money on our Olive Street garage, about $500,000, to make sure that stays in place. It's still a good investment based on everything that we've learned. It's better to put money into that than building a new one. Another thing that's interesting, and something that was sort of an option for us, but we believed it was a good thing to do, is we've committed $100,000 to the Media Elementary School playground rebuild. It's not being done by us, it's being done by, I think, by a nonprofit group. But it's a wonderful project, it benefits everybody in media, so we were happy to support it. You know, I could go on, but I don't think I really should. It's a solid budget. The Finance Committee is very happy to put it before you. We feel it's responsible, but I think everybody in media should recognize that this town has grown. Its complexity has grown, and our responsibilities have grown as a borough government. We want to do the best for you that we can. And this cushion that we've built up over many years in our reserve funds is being put to use, very good use this year. I mean, there's no point in having savings just to have them. The point is to spend them, right? but we also want to make sure that we have the appropriate cushion and that we're spending things on the right things. So one of the things that we're going to be doing this year is really spending borough staff time to make sure that our capital improvements plan, those big items that last a long time that we spend a lot of money on, that we have a very good plan in place so that we know what's coming over the next 3 to 5 years. So we can do a financial plan based on that. And we're not sure what that might mean, but we will look for any sort of way to address the increased revenue needs what we might need to pursue. That's the best way I know to say it. But with all that as a preamble, I'd like to, with confidence, request that the Borough Council approve the 2020 budget as presented. All four. Both the general capital, liquid fuels, and recreation fund budgets.
All right. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
We do have a second. Do we have any discussion concerning the motion?
I'd like to just thank finance, staff, as Peter, you said so eloquently tonight, for a small 3/4 of a square mile borough, we're doing a whole lot of stuff, all good stuff. So I'm pleased that the work that you all put into it, and we will continue to find ways to replenish that quote savings account so that we can continue to do the projects that are necessary to keep this community growing, and continue to keep this community to be the exciting place that it is to live. So thank you guys very, very much.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor of adopting the 2020 General Capital Liquid Fuels and Recreation Fund budgets, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Well, that concludes my report.
Well, a long time coming. Any questions for Councilman Williamson at this time?
I have a comment.
Yes.
Williamson, as usual, guarantee is on it, and that is on the 5th and Broomall Park
It's in there.
design is on.
Concept plans are up.
Thank you, Karen.
Excellent.
Thank you. It's a beautiful drawing, so anybody that hasn't looked at it ought to.
All right, we'll move along then to Councilman Dixon, Personnel, Public Relations, and Historical Archives.
Okay, so, okay, so the personnel department, we met a few different times in the last couple of months, and one of the things that we covered is the the Service Employees International Union, which is the SEIU. I don't know. Can I just read this?
Sure, of course.
Okay, good.
In the interest of, this is a highly technical thing, so in the interest of accuracy, reading is fine.
Okay. So the Borough Media and the Service Employee International Union will go 32BJ on behalf of the members who are Public Works, this Highway and Sanitation Department. The Borough Media agree to and intend to be legally bound, right? Okay. To the following, to some changes to the, yes.
To the collective bargaining.
Right, to the collective bargaining, thank you very much, agreement between the parties. Effective January 1st, it runs for 3 years. And do we need to mention that? No, thank you. And well, I'm asking, okay, because there are some things that the ACH that you were talking about, the borough agrees to explore remitting the union dues via ACH in 2020 and things like that. It's just, personnel has already met with them a few times and they've got an agreement with this. And so can I just ask for a motion to approve it, or must I do something else?
I take that as a
Second.
request for motion. And we have a second, so way to go. Any discussion on the motion?
I mean, this is something that we do on a regular basis with our Public Works group. It is entering into a new 3-year contract. We have a very, very good relationship with our Public Works staff. It was a pleasure to work with them with regards to this. Really no significant changes to the contract. Really just looking at a tiny bump in salary, which is typical for any agreement. Most everything else is relatively standard. So it's nothing new, but again, it's nice that we can get a contract entered into and agreed upon in a short amount of time, and we are able to do that because of the employees that we have.
All right, any other comments?
Sorry, I just have a quick question. I'm a little confused. Are we approving the memo of understanding or the actual agreement?
That's the motion to enter into the memorandum of understanding. That is the agreement.
That is the agreement this year. So it's referenced as a memorandum of understanding. So we agree on this, and then we end up.
That is the agreement?
Yes.
All right, any other
Yes,
questions?
that is the agreement.
Okay.
I'll call the question then. All those in favor of entering into the memorandum of understanding for a 3-year successor agreement with the SEIU on behalf of Public Works employees, which Councilman Robinson pointed out are ACEs, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
And I need a motion I make a motion to ratify the promotion of Jim Seaman as Finance Director, Assistant Manager, Slice.
Motion's been made, and I take that as a second. Is there any discussion concerning the motion?
Well deserved.
Yes. I mean, I think we all recognize that this borough, as Peter was saying, has been growing significantly. Our borough manager has had all these responsibilities placed on his shoulders. And I think it's very nice that we have someone like Jim on board now to act as a finance director as well as an assistant manager for 2 reasons. 1, we need this expertise, and 2, so that Mr. Smith can have somewhat of a private life and not be at Media Borough Hall 4 or 5 nights a week. So this is very, very exciting, and looking forward to working with Jim in the future.
Just one request, you make your sign have 2 lines, title, so the font's not so small.
That's
Just
hard
kidding.
to read. All right, I will comment that I believe that this is a wise investment. Not only do we invest in things, but we invest in people. And I consider this to be a wise investment for the borough because of the expertise that Mr. Seaman brings. All right, so we have a motion to ratify the promotion of Jim Seaman as Finance Director / Assistant Manager, which we hope will be somehow contracted at some point, make it a little bit easier to say, FDAM. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay. And I make a motion to approve the promotion of Dave Favinger as full-time codes inspector.
Second.
Motion's been made and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? I will call the question then. All those in favor of promoting Dave Favinger, who is a long time, several years now, assistant as code inspector, to a full-time codes inspector position, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
And I make a motion to approve the promotion of Kevin DeFrank as the laborer 1 in the Public Works Department.
Second.
Motion is made and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Clarification, Kevin's been with us for some time as a part-timer. It is one of the things that our Public Works Director has a tendency to do, bring someone on part-time, see how strong they are of an employee, and then offer them full-time employment. Kevin's done a very good job, and our Public Works Director, Ralph, feels that he would be a strong addition. It's really not changing the budget because we had an individual who had retired this year that was actually a laborer 2, which is a more detailed and has greater responsibilities. So we're really just filling a hole.
All right, any other discussion or call for question? Hearing none. All those in favor of promoting Kevin DeFrank to a full-time position as a laborer 1 in the Public Works Department, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes unanimously.
And I make a motion to approve the resignation and retirement of Peggy Stuber as part-time bookkeeper records clerk.
Second.
Motion been made and has been seconded. Any discussion or question? We'll mention that we will miss Ms. Stuber. She is leaving because of a family situation, and we wish her well, of course. All right, all those in favor of accepting Peggy Stuber's resignation as part-time bookkeeper records clerk, please say aye.
Aye. Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Make a motion to approve the resignation and retirement of Carl Drake as part-time codes inspector.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion or question concerning?
With regret.
With regret, of
Yes,
course.
as you say, Carl's been with us for a long, long time, and the man, I think, has finally decided to actually retire and enjoy life. So he will have a lot more fun being retired than doing some inspections for us. So he will be sorely missed.
All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor of accepting the resignation / retirement of Carl Drake as part-time code inspector, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
And I make a motion to approve the hiring of Cliff Gideon as part-time codes inspector.
Second.
Motion's been made and has been seconded. Any discussion concerning the motion?
Good find.
Yes.
He is a longtime borough resident, has been with another township as a full-time codes person for years.
He's coming back home.
So
A few years of experience.
a couple, has almost every certification you can ask for, so he'll be a good plus. So beat me on that one, Peter, with the second.
Yeah, he's coming home not only in terms of employment, but he's staying home, actually. All right, unless there's any other discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor of hiring Cliff Gideon as part-time code inspector, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, only other couple of things that we have has to do with.
You use your time up.
And yes, I'm finished. But we've had a fair amount of positive press, and one of the things that happened, Delco was talking about Martha Chamberlain and her work with dance, and you check it out in the paper sometime. But that's all I have to report. I'm going to say with what Paul said, which is I hope everybody has a really happy holiday that includes, let's see, Kwanzaa.
Excellent. All right, any questions or comments for Councilwoman Dixon at this time? Hearing none, if anybody wishes to address council, now is the time to do so. Public comment and privilege of the floor. The microphone is open. Please come to the microphone, tell us who you are, where you live, what's on your mind. Well, no one is taking advantage of open mic night. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Good night, folks. Have a wonderful holiday season.